There we go. All right, and I expect some folks to be joining us as we jump in, but we have a lot to cover in this session tonight, and so I'm going to get us started. My name is Kate Mudge, and I'm with Care Farming Network. I'm joined by my colleague Andrea Barnhart, also from Care Farming Network. She's going to be sharing some information in the chat as we go through this webinar this evening. And I just want to welcome you all, however it is that you found us and found out about this webinar. I'm glad that you did. This is the first session of our Beginning Care Farming series. I really appreciate just you showing up, your interest, your curiosity about care farming. I'm going to be facilitating today's session. And let's get into it. I'm sorry, I'm going to actually note that today's session is going to have a lot of material. Don't worry too much about taking notes, because what we did was create a resource sheet with a whole lot of links that we're going to send out along with a recording to this webinar sometime tomorrow, probably. So you'll have lots of information in your inbox. We are going to save a little bit of time towards the end of the session to be joined by a guest presenter who's going to talk a little bit about her care farm. And then we're hopefully going to have some time for Q&A. So if you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll get to those at the end of the webinar. So as we move through today's session, you may have some questions. Again, throw those into the chat. I want to note that we do have, this is a 3-part series. Next week on Wednesday, we're going to have another session about exploring your business model for Care Farm, along with facility and land options. And on the 25th, we're going to have an introduction to Care Farming Network's new mentorship program. So if anyone is joining us today too, who is interested in applying for that mentorship program, there's more information on our website. And it's great that you're here, because one of the recommendations is to attend this series to apply for that mentorship. You might notice that we're focusing these sessions on farms that are located in the Northeast region of the United States, and especially on farms that serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this is because we received some grant support from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture through their Northeast Sustainable Agricultural Research and Education Program. With all that being said, we think that what we're sharing in these sessions is going to be helpful to anyone in any region of the United States serving diverse populations. So here is just a brief overview of what we're going to be discussing today. We'll move through the slides. As I said, we're going to welcome our guest presenter, Jenny Brongo from Homesteads for Hope, and then we'll have about 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. So we're here to talk about what is care farming. So the concept of care farming has roots in various historical practices and philosophies, and they all recognize that there's a therapeutic benefit of working with nature and animals. And while the term care farming itself might be relatively modern, the principles and the practices that it encompasses have really deep historical and cultural significance. We're going to put a link in the chat that outlines the history of care farming from its beginnings to its growth through Europe. And now we have this burgeoning movement here in the United States. By Care Farming Network's estimates, we have almost 300 care farms mapped in the United States already. The Care Farming Network is a program of Red Wiggler Community Farm located in Germantown, Maryland, which was founded in 1996. They're a sustainable care farm where people with and without developmental disabilities come together to work, learn, and grow healthy food. Care Farming Network was created because there was so much interest by others in care farming throughout the United States, and many of them wanted to know how to start up their own farm. So throughout our history, we felt that need and attempted to fill the void by providing technical assistance and this membership model to people that are wanting to start a care farm and that are actively care farming. And over the past 6 years, the Care Farming Network is expanded to include new team members. We offer more tools and sessions such as the Beginning Care Farming series to support care farms throughout the United States. We're going to be hosting our first national conference in January of 2025. And as I mentioned, we just recently announced a new mentorship program, which is connecting experienced care farmers with aspiring care farmers in the Northeast region of the US to support one another over the course of a year. You can also find out more about our national conference in January, as well as our mentorship program online. So as a network, we're often asked, what is care farming? And it's sometimes called social farming or social care farming. And our working definition is the use of therapeutic farming to promote health, well-being, and belonging. And there are a lot of varieties and types of care farms. Care farms can differ based on the type of farming activities that a farm offers. And some examples of farming are listed here on the slide. They are, however, no means an exhaustive list. So here's just a few examples of the folks that are served through care farming. Regardless of the population served, care farms provide social interaction and support. Care farms reinforce feelings of equality. They enhance confidence. They develop an awareness of well-being. And of course, they provide health benefits and meaningful activities and work. Many of the populations served by care farms are historically underserved. Many may be considered marginalized or vulnerable. Care Farming Network, we really want to focus our definition, though, on the positive benefits of care farming. So I assume that many of you are here tonight because you're interested in care farming. You're thinking about maybe starting a care farm. And the question is, where in the heck do you start? There is not one specific type of care farm or a how-to manual that outlines each step, right? So we'll talk a little bit about some of the models of care farms. Just as care farms serve diverse populations, they also operate different models. Some offer employment and job training. Others provide therapeutic services, such as animal-assisted or nature-based therapy. Just to look at a couple farms, again, you can find a list of all of the care farms that we've mapped in the US. And they have profiles and links to their website. So it's a neat thing to check out. But I just wanted to pull up a couple. Here's an example of a farm that is located in Virginia called A Farm Less Ordinary. They do employment and job training. They're an example of a farm and a welcoming community, employing people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. They were founded by the parents of a son with autism back in 2016. And they do neat things like delivering crop boxes and flower bouquets through their CSA. Another farm, Capabilities, located in Massachusetts. They've provided individuals with training, employment, and opportunities to interact with the local community. And they offer organic and local food, flowers, gifts, and more. And most importantly, they really focus on cultivating a diverse and inclusive community for people of all abilities. We have an example of Greens Do Good from New Jersey. They're part of Read Autism Services. They're offering workforce development opportunities to both teens and adults, and they operate a hydroponic growing facility in New Jersey. And for therapeutic farms, an example of a farm offering animal-assisted intervention, Equicenter, located in New York. They use a wide range of therapeutic, equestrian, and horticulture programs to foster personal growth and individual achievement. So they offer things like individualized lessons. They have a horticulture and equine active learning program, a 3-acre organic farm. They also offer culinary classes and provide services to those with disabilities and to veterans and at-risk youth. And then here's an example of a apiary, Mission Believe. They provide beekeeping education for veterans and first responders. And their mission is to support the physical, mental, and emotional well-being of veterans and first responders, again, through the therapeutic and enriching practices of beekeeping. So there's a couple other types of models, licensed therapy, which have program licensed therapists on farm, and life sharing communities such as Camp Hill. So Cultivate Care Farms in Massachusetts. It's a nonprofit whose mission is to improve the lives of kids and adolescents through farm-based therapy. So licensed therapists there use their farm and animals as a model for engaging their clients in partnership with the clinicians. And the therapy sessions would include activities that promote health and wellness for the clients and for the animals and the farm. We also have Simple Sparrow Farm, a nonprofit trauma-informed farm located in Texas. And they collaborate with community partners to provide trauma-informed educational and therapeutic care farm programs and services for all ages, all backgrounds, with the ability to learn and heal and grow. I should note here that Simple Sparrow also has a really wonderful podcast to listen to, which is going to be linked to in our resource page. And then life sharing communities. We have Creative Living Community of Connecticut. This is a farm that seeks to create a shared inclusive living experience for individuals, again, with and without disabilities. And you may be familiar with Camp Hill communities across the nation. There are more than 100 communities in 22 countries where people with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities live and work and care for each other based on social, spiritual, cultural, and agricultural renewal. We have Bittersweet Farms in Ohio. They have a community living program and day programs for those with autism, again, focusing on horticulture, on garden, and animal care. So we've discussed a little bit about what care farming is, its history, looked at different models, looked at some different farms, but now we're going to move into some of the initial steps in planning a care farm. And like any good plan, research is key to pinpointing the potential challenges and developing what is hopefully an informed and long-range strategy. So you'll want to spend some time learning about the community that your farm will be a part of. And some of the questions you might ask yourself are, what other organizations are providing services in my community? Are you duplicating efforts? Is there competition? And what local partners might be interested to learn more or can offer help and support, whether that's volunteer labor, design services, help with fundraising, or sweat equity. And there really is support all around you. This is just a brief list of some of the organizations that are available that can help with startup farm planning, whether they're local agricultural offices, if you have a regional sustainable agriculture association or organization, statewide nonprofit associations. There's a national directory for nonprofits. And if you're not familiar with your state's nonprofit association, definitely know about them if you're going the nonprofit route. There's all types of beginning farmer training workshops and your small business development centers. Multiple resources out there. Again, we'll list a lot of these resources with links on our resource list that we're sharing. And when you're doing research, you should include, if at all possible, an opportunity to visit other care farms and local farmers in your area, because there is so much to learn from others who have walked the path and learned some really hard-won wisdom. This quote I like, it's from John at Langton Green, and it summarizes what others echo, that there is this wealth of information available to you if you actively seek out advice from others. We'll get to some other bits of wisdom shared by care farmers later on. But one thing I do want to mention is that we as a network really take seriously the importance of relationship building among care farmers. And I can attest to the fact that while extraordinarily busy, many established care farmers are more than willing to take the time to speak and share their wisdom with others. So as a network, Care Farming Network can offer support in a lot of different ways. We provide consultations. We have virtual member gatherings on a monthly basis. We're always willing to, again, connect you with the more than 250 care farms in our network. So please lean on us for support and allow us to connect you with other care farms in the region. So we're going to take just a little bit of time now to talk about how you can work with your own inspiration to create a vision for your future farm. As you can see, we're big on questions. Some of this exploration and trying to figure out, like, when you're crafting your vision, what kinds of questions, because these create the foundation of your project. And those questions are around, what are your core values and what are the problems that you're trying to solve? Having a good idea of what your service is and why that service addresses the problem and solves for a problem. What is your 1-year plan? What is your 5-year plan? And honestly, there are so many other questions, again, such as these, that might be helpful to consider. We hear from a lot of folks. This is an overwhelming process, so many things to be thinking about. But these questions are also a good practice that should help keep you both grounded and help guide you in your planning process. And there's also what we like to call a Goldilocks principle to think about, which is the idea of landing on just right. You need to understand your capacity. You need to understand who you're going to serve, how you'll sustain yourself, and what you'll offer. And you might not end up exactly with what you started with, but the journey will get you there. And as a network, we're here to share stories about the successes and challenges of care farming. And when we have asked, what advice do you have for aspiring care farmers? Just a few responses. Amanda from Ohana Farm says, I started super slow, which helped a lot. And one thing I know is that many of the IDD schools and residential programs around me are always looking for meaningful things to do in the community, but doing them can be a challenge. She learned to take it really slow and accept whatever help or involvement that can be provided at whatever pace that they can. And she set her goals to add to her program just a little bit every year, which has helped a lot. Jen from Little Otter Flower Farm, located in Virginia, recommends talk with other farmers. She says, I continue to be amazed with how kind and generous with their time and talents most other small local farmers are. She says she has a background in business, not farming. So she was happy to talk with folks about business, but for farming, she'd suggest staying local and talk to farmers that grow what you grow. Also, connect with your local ag extension office. Have some clear goals. Lots of people will tell you to do this or that. Everyone has a new idea to try, but your time is your most limited resource. So staying focused should be a priority, and reevaluating in the off season can be helpful. So along with planning for a care farm, the number one question that we receive at Care Farming Network is, how do you fund a care farm? So we're going to transition into a discussion a bit about what some of the funding requirements and inquiries are from aspiring care farmers. So care farmers are social entrepreneurs. We are often motivated by a desire to improve lives and develop innovative ways to do so. And funding considerations are compounded by the fact that care farms can form under several legal structures, nonprofit or for-profit, and your revenue options can also vary depending on how you structure your care farm. And funders can also have their own preference of what they want to fund. And again, the importance of telling your own story cannot be overstated. Before you get to grant writing, before you get to figuring it all out, you need to understand the work and the path that you're creating towards creating your vision, because ultimately your care farm serves to inspire those that may support you. Many of the care farms in our network highlight their history on their websites. It's worth reading those for inspiration. Here's just one example of how Bittersweet Farm shares their story, which begins with their history and their vision. We also start with storytelling when we talk about fundraising, because in order to fundraise, you essentially need to influence behavior change for your stakeholders. And to develop a compelling story, you need a clear vision statement that answers these 4 questions. Again, who are you serving? What's your purpose? What are you offering? And what are your values? A vision lays the foundation upon which any enterprise is built, and visions need to be compelling and achievable. They need to be distinctive and clear and inclusive. The power of a great story can be used as a core fundraising technique, because your story's objective is to educate and to evoke powerful feelings. So getting someone to feel through what you're telling them is an important part of your story. And it may make the difference between them waving you away or being willing to help. Because when someone is emotionally invested, they're far more likely to feel attached to that thing and to donate. And that attachment then can breed loyalty, because donors want to keep connected over a longer period of time, and they want to make an impact. And they may even become so passionate that they continue your legacy by sharing your story with their circles. And here's the thing about storytelling. You do not need to be a professional writer to develop your story. There are so many free resources available on the internet that can help guide you through the process. Again, those will be listed on our resource sheet. Particularly when it comes to telling your origin story, whether you're discovering how to tell it for the first time or you simply want to refresh your approach, a powerful narrative is the foundation of successful fundraising. And donors give because they want to feel like heroes, and they want to feel like they matter, that there's something bigger than themselves out there to support. So your goal in any fundraising plan is to provide a clear, concise, and impactful map to show donors how you plan on making that change. So again, here are some questions that may be good prompts for you to help answer why donors should give to your farm, to your organization, to your idea. Regardless of what farm size you plan on being or your financial status, we're going to talk a bit about a business plan, because you need one. You're effectively going to create this blueprint for how your farm will run, who's going to be responsible for what, and how you plan to achieve your goals. And a business plan also helps you secure support, be it monetary or in kind, or even just support from volunteers. A business plan essentially helps you convey that purpose and goals. So when you're writing, excuse me, an ask, you're seeking to create this social change and a social return on investment, not just for a financial return on investment. So when you're writing something like a grant or a letter of interest to a funder, you should be precise about how you're going to achieve your goal. It should include details on what change you're seeking to make, how you're going to make it, how you're going to measure it. It's also important not to undersell yourself by being too humble. It's also really important to remember that a lot of funders and donors might need to understand more about what care farming is. Here in the US, again, care farming is a relatively new concept. So remember to clearly define what your farm's purpose is, the benefits you're providing, and consider providing information about all of the above. On our website, you will find a really great video. It's short. I think it's 4 minutes. It's called What is Care Farming? And this is something that you could share with anyone. It introduces people to the care farming concept. And we also have an entire resource library with research that illustrates the benefits of care farming. So now that we've covered how to tell your story, the importance a bit on that business planning, we'll talk about some specific funding opportunities. We have loans and grants and research. The United States Department of Agriculture, they offer many beginning farmer loans. They do some farm ownership loans as well. They do micro loans. They, excuse me, are all located within, they have a state coordinator through the FSA, and that's essentially the office that would offer one-on-one technical assistance and guidance. They can also connect you with organizations specifically serving beginning farmers and ranchers. The Farm Service Agency offers loans to help farmers and ranchers get the financing they need to start, expand, or maintain a family farm. Again, you can contact your local FSA office. They're based in every county. They have a bunch of different programs. They're always changing. There's too many to go into here. But one thing to note is that you do need to have a clear understanding of your needs. It's helpful prior to meeting with a local FSA rep. Then there are traditional lending options specifically to help purchase property. You might find that if you have a community financial development institution in your neck of the woods, otherwise called a CDFI, they can be good options. They're mission-driven financial institutions certified by the Department of Treasury. And they can be banks or have loan funds or venture capital. And they operate with a primary mission of serving lower income communities. But don't also forget to check out options from your state's Department of Agriculture. I live here in rural Minnesota. Right now, we have a program that offers a $15,000 down payment assistance to any first-time farm buyer. So your state might have something similar to that. There are also lots of crowdfunding platforms, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and others. I'm glad that Jenny's going to be here. She used one for her farm and had a lot of success. Crowdfunding just is the use of small amounts of capital from large numbers of individuals to finance a new venture. And it uses the easy accessibility of these kind of larger networks of people through usually social media or a crowdfunding website to bring investors and entrepreneurs together. Some other examples of funding options. Kiva offers microloans available to farmers actually all over the world to expand their enterprises or fund specific projects. They offer interest-free loans that are available as direct loans through PayPal to US farmers. We also have the National Sustainable Ag Association. They have a really great website that is, they highlight regional grants opportunities. And you can go on their website, sign up for their newsletter, get their alerts. Beginningfarmer.org also lists local and regional food project grants. Again, constantly being updated. So check those out. And then through USDA Sustainable Ag Research and Education Program, I mentioned this earlier, we've received some funding from them. Farms and ranchers can apply for grants that typically run anywhere between $500 and $15,000 for various projects. They're available in different regions. We also have the Center for Rural Affairs. They're a great resource that offers links and advice specifically for applying to beginning farmer funding programs. They also have a farm finance page, lots of useful tips there on planning your financing strategy. And then we have the Carrot Project. This is region specific. They are loan programs available to folks that live in specific Northeast states. And they're offering capital or operating loans anywhere between $5,000 and $250,000 to farms. And as a nonprofit organization, the opportunities to receive grant fundings and receive tax-deductible donations can provide a multitude of benefits for fundraising efforts. Again, I'll point you to our website. We have a list of resources that link to organizations that do provide grant opportunities. On our social media channels and on our newsletters, we're also broadcasting when we're aware of new opportunities for people. And we, again, going back to our resource list, you'll see a whole list of grant funders there. So last thing, we've also covered fundraising and social media tips and tricks in our past monthly member gatherings, which are recorded and can be viewed on our website. These are 1-hour webinars where we've kind of taken a deep dive into specific areas of funding opportunities. And those are all recorded and free to watch. There's also just a lot of options that aren't always on our radar. For example, 2 Care Farms were the recipients of Kubota's Hometown Proud Challenge. Here in Minnesota, again, we have something called a Lake Winds Organic Fund. They provide $8,000 a year to organic farmers. If you have a listserv available to you, often those are hosted through farming organizations or your extension service. Highly recommended to add your name to it so you can be notified of funding opportunities. And this comes up a lot from Care Farms, that don't forget about in-kind donations, because once you have a budget of items that you need to purchase or supplies that you know that you'll need, keep it handy, because approaching local businesses and asking for that in-kind support can be really successful. There are also just a ton of helpful tools that can help aid you in your fundraising efforts. Network for Good is one example. That's a CRM database that helps you track your donations, or Squarespace, if you're looking for a lower cost website platform. Jenny might speak to this, but Instrumental is a grant database that allows you to search for grants. And Canva, for those of you who are not graphic designers, such as myself, but want really pretty logos and a really easy to use platform, I highly suggest you check out Canva. It's kind of a graphic design tool for dummies, and it's free to use and allows you to create really professional looking designs for your marketing purposes. And lastly, I just want to call your attention to the resource page that we're going to be sharing, because we're going to be providing you with examples of how you might present a budget for a grant in something called a logic model, which you could use to help you make sense of the process in terms of crafting a business plan or a grant submission. Those can be pretty daunting. So we have some templates available where you can plug in your numbers and just kind of play around with the process of creating a budget. And there's no reason you need to recreate the wheel. So you can reach out to us if you need support, but they'll also help you develop your narrative and some compelling stories using numbers for these templates. So that was a lot of information. Thank you for bearing with me. I now want to pass it over to Jenny Brongo, who is the founder and CEO of Homesteads for Hope, which is located in Rochester, New York. They're a 55-acre nonprofit farm serving young adults with and without disabilities. And they provide opportunities for sustainable learning, hands-on work experience, affordable housing, and giving people the tools to grow their purpose. And we've invited Jenny here because she's an all-around care farming rock star. And she is masterful in talking about her own journey in an origin of starting a care farm, and has a lot to share. So I will pass it over to Jenny.
Hello. Oh, there I am. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on my phone for my audio, and I'm here on my home computer with you visually. So thank you so much for this opportunity. For those new in the room to care farming, this network, although still grassroots, is growing fast. And I wish I had the resources that we have now with them when I started this 10 years ago. I founded Homesteads in 2013. I am a sister to autism, and I was looking for a life plan for my brother and I. My father had recently passed away, so it was just my mom and my brother trying to provide support services. And here in New York State, they're very limited. We couldn't find anything. And one day I stumbled to a farm owned by my great uncle. It was one of my first jobs. And I went and took my brother there. And he has nonverbal autism. And he's so used to McDonald's and Disney movies. And he's very strict with his schedule. And we were looking for purpose. And we stumbled across Nature's Classroom. My brother's attention sometimes doesn't last longer than 10 minutes on a task, and we spent an hour and a half at the farm. Can we go to the next slide? And this is my vision pretty much since day one. So sitting by the Erie Canal at my great uncle's farm, I sat down and was like, wow, there's something here. I can't be the only one that ever thought about a farm for autism. So I Googled it and I found a wave of intentional communities all across our country, and nothing like it existed in New York State. The more I researched, I didn't know about care farming, right? But I heard about farming and ranching communities for the disability community. Went out to a conference early in 2012, I believe. And I started picking all these things I loved from every organization that I met. And the idea was a concept of a place to learn, a place to work, a place to live, and a place to grow people's unique purpose and cultivate a true community of inclusion. And that's our new tagline. And the last slide that you saw is our new rebrand. And we've been functioning and operational for 8 years now. So a dream for 10, maybe 11, but 8 years in full operation. I will say that originally, and even the name and the concept that we came up with, my mother and I, was a homestead for hope. We were thinking very traditional thoughts, trying to serve this population. And I saw a 5-acre house down the street for sale, had a house at 5 acres, and I thought we could have a little farm stand, and it was a homestead for hope. That house was no longer for sale. And then I kept going back to the idea of thinking bigger. And I would say, in your planning, please start small. When I say, and as you look at this beautiful rendering, and we'll get to some pictures of what it looks like now, I will say, I put the wagon before the horse, and I pretty much bought egg cartons before I had eggs or chickens. I was determined to do something special that was different and unique and genuine. And I knew that my family and my brother and our struggles, although hopeless, we found absolute hope. through this journey at Homesteads for Hope Community Farm. Next slide. So this is the farm as of last year. You can see that that's a 25-acre kind of view. We are in the wide waters of the Erie Canal. It was a historic farm built in 1824, prior to the Erie Canal in New York State being built. And it has been a journey. As you can see the timeline on the left here, it's been an 8-year journey, and it has not been easy, but it's absolutely worth everything. I say we're endorsed by over 600 families because that's how many people we're serving. We have 35 students full-time. We have partnerships with schools, other local agencies, people coming to work and learn and engage in recreation here in Nature's Classroom. So a little timeline here is we bought the farm in 2016. Prior to that, I established a family board, right? It wasn't all lawyers and accountants. It was a family board of other people wanting to do this same model. We rented Uncle Bob's farm out in 2014 and 15. And we did a farm school pilot program, and it was very small. It looked nothing like the farm does now, but we rented out one of Uncle Bob's original greenhouses. We probably did a 1/4 acre of gardening, and parents would just come and they'd do some programming, do some lessons, have lunch together, build community, and we built off of that. I went to a conference. This is another resource for those who are serving people who are neurodiverse. Together for Choice is another coalition of people who are building intentional community models. And I believe that a lot of them also have some form of farming to it. But they're a great advocacy group, and they explain about rules and legislation and a lot about housing too, because yes, a farm provides the opportunities for your day, but as we grow older and we're looking for a place to live. I went to a conference. I met a man named Charlie Hammerman, and he was mentioned on a slide. He's from the Disability Opportunity Fund. He is a CDFI lender. Basically, his slogan was, I will build you a bridge and buy you time to develop your dream. And that's exactly what we did. I said wagon before the horse here. So this is $1 million property. Okay. And now it is well assessed over $8 million, but it was $1 million dream. And we afforded that with $5,000 down and a champion of ours holding collateral mortgage. So $5,000 down, we got 1.25 million. So we had $250,000 in startup capital. When we arrived at the farm, September 1st, 2016, it was like Labor Day weekend. We had hundreds of volunteers that came out and helped us find the canal, because you couldn't, clean up the property, and people brought bulldozers, tractors, pizza, ice cream trucks. I mean, the community was so invested to make this work. It took us all the way up until 2018, though, especially being seasonal, because a lot of what you see right now, this infrastructure, the place where you do your programming, the place that's warm. If you live in a cold weather climate, like keeping people warm, we were a seasonal operation. So in 2016, we cleaned up the farm enough to host a family barbecue and invited the entire community out, over 300 people. In 2017, we took what we did during our pilot program in the previous years, and we basically did everything for free and let people come out, hosted a lot of events, cultivation, networks, meetings. 2018 is when we started developing more of a set pricing schedule, putting out programs and classes, a lot more events, and we had about 10 apprentices by 2018. By 2019 is when we really set the stage. We built the foundation. We had a great board of directors. I hired a nonprofit consultant. I might have even done that in the earlier year, in 2018. But it was vital to our success, because I kind of did this on a shoestring. I didn't know everything. but I got the right people in place and built something. So in 2019, we had 5 staff. We had a farm manager, a farm store coordinator, a program coordinator, an office manager. And I think that was about it. So, and then me. So, and I'm not paid. So we had 20 apprentices full-time in our programs Monday through Friday. We opened up a membership. So all those families coming in, we monetized it at a very low cost. It has not changed, of $150. That's your membership. That's how I have 600. I have 600 families that continuously support our mission and support, and they get free events and free classes and clubs and a second place, a farm family. We all know how 2020 went, but for homesteads and for us being care farmers, and I'm wondering if anyone else has experienced this, I call it the year of the flood. We were flooded with people coming to the farm who had no place to go. Group homes were closed, day programs were closed, parents are at home with their kids, homeschool kids, corporate volunteers. People were flooding to homesteads, and we took them all in. We took them all in. Actually, if you look at this photo and you see this beautiful canal side, we host an annual like Father's Day fishing derby. And we probably didn't get more than 100 people every year up to that. In 2020, when I say there was about 700 people on this canal side, they were in the bushes fishing. And I remember telling a bass fisherman in the parking lot at like 7 a.m. I go, "Sir, I'm glad you're here, but you know, like the top prize is like a pink tackle box, right?" And he's like, "We're just happy to be here and supporting you." So 2020 was a flood. 2021 was extremely difficult to capture and sustain this growth, because I just said in 2019 is when we really felt established. We're like, we got this. This is year one. That's how it felt. 2020, everything had to shift. Every mindset that we had shifted. And we're like, inclusion is so important right now. It's how we survived. It's how we built more of our programs, our volunteer programming and everything. But we paid our mortgage to the Disability Opportunity Fund. We did everything we needed to do. And by 2022, we launched our first ever fundraising campaign. Now, we had done fundraising. In-kind donations is how we built this place. A few more slides, I'll actually show you some of our donors and our revenue streams, but we launched our official first capital comprehensive campaign with a goal of raising $3 million called Pave the Way. And that was to dedicate $1.5 million into the infrastructure, and $1.5 million to cover our costs, our capacity, our staffing, our growth, and having operating funds to move forward with. Last year in 2023, the White House that you see here, it is actually connected to a brick structure. That's the original brick structure home on the property that was in complete shambles. When we bought it, I was not, again, I wasn't thinking straight. I was thinking with my heart and not my head. That has since changed, but that part and that story and that being genuine is how we have got here today. But 2023, we rebuilt the house, and the house actually, it's a total of 6,500 square feet. It offers a community center downstairs, program offices, multiple smaller classrooms in the living room, in the sunroom, and we have a beautiful teaching kitchen and a lobby so that people coming in have a place to come meet with people. And then upstairs, we have offices. And in this white section of the house, we actually launched a piloted care farmer training program. And I'm happy to announce that we got the blessing to utilize the terminology. And we have 2 farmers, one from Seattle, Washington, the other from Delaware, who came and learned and worked together on the farm this year within and having a residential placement. And it has been a game changer for productivity, having extra hands by providing housing. And they want to come back. And it was supposed to be a seasonal thing, and they want to come back. So it's been an incredible journey. This picture, on the wide waters of the canal is our 15-acre organic farm. It's not certified organic, but it's 15 acres of produce, and we do over 250 CSA food shares. We have a flower production. We have 60 chickens now. We have 3 baby goats. We have a sensory garden, if you see those boxes, and every building has a purpose of a place to learn, a place to work. But this specific picture is our Blue Jean Ball Gala last year, I believe, or our block party celebration for building that house. Next slide. So what do we do? One thing I'll say is we are not into the housing phase as of yet. We're focusing on the first 25 acres, the place to belong, the programming, the agritourism, the vocational opportunities. So our program is called Ready, Set, Grow. We are a non-certified organization, but we do utilize what's called self-determination, and that's how individuals with and without disabilities can afford the programs. I will tell you, we bulk our programs. There are different class sessions. You can come Monday, Wednesday, Friday all day. You can come Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, Tuesday, Thursday mornings, Tuesday, Thursday afternoons. We have different opportunities so that there's more choice and we don't look like a day program. And maybe that's my New York State thinking, but we want to be innovative. So our main program is called Ready, Set, Grow, and we currently have 35 full-time apprentices. And during the summer, we have over 100 from schools and partnerships. We have graduated, quote unquote, 5 individuals out of our program in 2022. We have kept 2 at the farm. One is our CSA and farm assistant, goes to the farmers markets, does the CSA pickups, does the harvesting. And then another is yesterday she told me she wants to be the farm store manager, but she is our farm store and cafe assistant. She works 30 hours during the summer months when we're busy, and then she cuts down to 10 hours a week during the winter, and that is so that she can afford and still keep her benefits, because you can't make more than a certain threshold of $12,000 more if you have a disability and not lose your SSI services. And then 3 other individuals actually went out and worked in the community with vendors and people we use. So one individual worked, he got a job at the Boy Scout store. That was very important. The other one is working at a landscaping company, and he's running mowers and tractors and doing everything that he essentially learned at the farm. And then the other actually works for our tent and audio vendor. So he said he liked music, and I'm like, okay. So now he's like becoming an audio engineer, and just connections of being at the farm. So it's more than just care farming sometimes with our model. We talked about memberships. We have over 600. We have a social option, which is the 150. It gets you clubs, classes, and entry into our events and things. That's our base model. Then we have our garden membership. We have over 80 garden boxes. Those were not shown in the last photo, but people for $350 come and have their own member garden box and a U-Pick section of flowers, fruits, and vegetables. Our CSA food share, we have 250 members with our CSA. We do a full share and a half share. I will say it's working. It's a lot of work. Other farms, you have to put care over farm sometimes, and you're not going to get the productivity with sometimes the population that you're serving. So just be aware of that. We probably have about 60 people out in the fields every harvest day. And that includes corporate volunteers and our members coming out and joining us and having a full experience. We offer enterprises, so places to work, places to learn how to work. We have our farm store, cafe, and grill. Bottom line here, we also rent our barns out for weddings and do a lot of events, but our favorite ones are just renting them out to other agencies, schools, and partners who want to utilize the facility. And it's only allowing people to just come together and see what we do in action. I know that Woody from Red Wiggler loves this. He got to visit and experience it, but we do something called Thursdays at the Farm. It is a evening 5 to 8 for 22 weeks, June to November, and we do live music. We have vendors. We have our farm store open. We do a lemonade stand. We make pizzas. We also pair that with one of our CSA pickup dates. So Thursday is very popular, and it's like having a weekly fundraiser, a weekly networking opportunity. I meet the best people who said, I just drove by and saw the cars and I thought we'd just stop in. And we do that every Thursday, and it's been extremely successful. It's one of our favorite days of the week. We get to celebrate together, and we've got 15 picnic tables, and they're all starting to really group up by like, first it was 2 tables, and it's like 10 tables. People are becoming family. So that's an amazing opportunity if you could fit something like that at your future care farm, if that is your choice of bringing the community in. It is, and sometimes if you don't make food, get food trucks. Field Trip Fridays is a new initiative for us. We're like, we can't be full-time with our apprentices or our growers. We can't do that and farming, and then everyone wants a tour. Everyone wants a field trip. So we dedicated Fridays as fun days on the farm. So every Friday we're open up to school groups and just general agritourism of people coming in. We dedicate that day. Our apprentices are a part of that experience, and they're the ones being the tour guides. Partnerships and collaborations are so important. And if you can get those before you start and network with people, it's going to make you stronger. We have a fabulous partnership right now with 2 school districts that are paying us a significant amount of money to be at the farm. I don't even know how much we offer them, but opening our doors to them and showing them a new way of life for those transitioning young adults out of school has been life-changing for them. And this is our 3rd year of service with them. And since we built the house last year, they are with us full-time, and they rent out our teaching kitchen 4 hours a week. Farm Club and Hope Crew, those are our fun activities. Those are free to our social memberships. We do the younger age, and then we do the older age young adults, and it's completely inclusive. Next slide. Okay, so money. Homesteads for Hope's current operating budget is just shy of $1 million. That is actually what it takes to fund our care farm annually. We have 18 staff, and we're serving over 600 families, 35 seem more full-time, a 15-acre farm production, and we're doing it less than $1 million. From our revenue side, 50% of our funds raised are coming from fundraising and grants. And it's a lot of work, but we're getting to more of a sustainable model here in 2024, where you can see 20% of our budget is revenues are coming from programs. Second to that is our farm and our CSA. Third to that is having those events like fishing derby, Easter egg hunts, Thursdays at the farm. That's what's bringing in that. And then we have our enterprise model. So our farm store, cafe, pizza grill, wedding venues bringing in 8%. But on the expense side, so where is it getting spent? 70% is payroll. We have 18 employees, 10 of them are full-time. 70% is our payroll. 15% is our general overhead. That is your mortgage, your insurance, your accounting, your utilities, how to keep the lights on, your payroll, service. Like 15% of that almost $1 million budget is dedicated to just that. 10% is our fundraising and marketing costs to just extra stuff. And then our farm supply, I don't say program supply, it's our farm supply budget is 5% of that as well. Next slide. Here are my friends. So we have Mr. Michael. He's holding up eggplants. He works in the CSA room in another part of our program called Ready, Set, Work. So our programs during the daytime are growing your abilities, and then Ready, Set, Work is really going to work in the farm store, the cafe, the CSA pickup. So they're learning additional skills, and they have a lot of customers to serve. My future farm manager. She's in the kayak for the very first time. We have a partnership with Adaptive Kayaking Company. We have our friends in the teaching kitchen. They're making pickles. We did a pickling class. We did 100 jars of pickles. Grow lots and lots of cucumbers at your farm because it's such a great thing that you can consistently do all season. We got new baby goats, so I have a friend over there. And then flowers. You saw Little Otter. You'll meet so many more, but flowers is a passion for so many. The labor is less. The growing season's a little bit longer. You could do a little bit more with it. And for our friends with intellectual and developmental disabilities, it is their favorite rotation on the farm. But let's talk fundraising. Everyone thinks I'm a fundraising guru. I'm just relentless and I'm genuine. And if I need it, I'm going to go get it. But we do have support from 3 large foundations that provide us a $50,000 gift that is unrestricted. The first one, and I hope I'm not taking too much time, so put that in the chat box if I am. Our first fund is that
I just wanted to jump in. We're
yes,
time for the webinar. So
okay,
and because we're going to ask some folks, I don't know if folks have to go. I'm perfectly fine staying long, but we're going to have a link to share also to an evaluation. So
okay,
maybe we can just finish your slides because I wanted to do a little Q&A for those that wanted to ask any questions.
perfect.
So, but I'll let you finish. I know you have this slide and the next, so.
Okay, I'll keep it quick. Thank you. I just want to let you know where your funding potentially could come from. So my first $50,000 gift and that grant that I got every single year was because I invited the guy who I bought my chainsaw blades around the corner to a networking event to just come meet us, learn what we're doing. I had no idea that he was a part of a foundation, had connections. It's $50,000 a year. It was a genuine relationship I had. The second comes from a board member. He had an in, we got the in, we get an unrestricted gift. And the third is actually, I don't know where the money comes from, but someone just keeps giving us $50,000 a year and I don't know who it is, right? And I just do the reviews. Typically we write about 30 grants per year. We heavily rely on in-kind support in construction and supplies, just like you mentioned about the jars and the cardboard, like that's huge for us. I have a school district that builds us a Amish shed or a barn every year, a part of their geometry and construction class. Other events we host is Vision and Hope. So once a month we have like a host. It could be a board member, it could be a champion. They invite their friends in, we schmooze, we network. We do our Blue Jean Ball. Ours is coming up in the next 2 weeks and we net over $85,000 a year. It's fun because it's like a gala, but it's blue jeans and denim. So don't steal my idea, but you can all go denim and diamonds. It works. We do 2 food truck rodeos and we get about 800 people each evening. We just get a big band and food trucks and you collect entry fees and it's a good fundraiser. And then, as I mentioned, the Thursday night events. We also do a thankathon on Giving Tuesday. So instead of asking for money, we thank people. So it's Thankful Tuesday at our farm. In the spring, we send a catalog of this is what the schedule and the calendar and everything you can do at the farm. And we always have an ask. We do a fall appeal letter, which is a testimonial of about one of the people you're serving, about a good story, and you put an ask in there. And then I always, besides what my team does, I send out a very visionary CEO monthly email newsletter, and it is very well received. With my donor my database, I can actually see who opens it. But one thing to mention, like we went through a pandemic, so you can't always rely on foundations and grants in this economy. So I'm very please try to ensure that what you're doing will have some form of profits to be sustainable. And the next slide is just take a picture of it. Okay. These are kind of like my quick tips about fundraising, how I got started. You know, if you can have some startup capital to hire someone that's going to put all your ducks in a row, invest in that, because I wish I would have on day one. We had mentioned some of the great tools that I use: Squarespace, Canva, QuickBooks. Instrumental is a grant database, and if you go online, they'll give you a 30-day free trial. It's amazing. Network for Good is my database of choice currently. Everyone on my team knows how to use it. It's as simple as navigating how to use Facebook, and it offers everything from email communications, text communications, reporting. I love it. The only one that's not on here, if people aren't already using it, is ChatGPT. My younger staff have just showed me how amazing it is, and I can make the best year-end appeals. My CEO letters, they just make everything better, and I use it a lot for grants, and it's become a really great tool. So please, if you're not, look into that. And then the only thing I just wanted to share is we switched to outsourced accounting. I have an outsourced bookkeeper that does all my financial work, and it is just like a third of the cost of hiring somebody to do it in-house. So if anyone is like, I am not an accountant, I'm not into the financial piece, we use outsourced accounting. We've been doing it for about 8 months now, and it's been a life changer. So those are my tips and tricks. Never forget the power of your story. It is so important, and always stay true to yourself, your values, your brand, and be genuine. Do not try to replicate what someone else is doing. Do what makes it work for you, your child, your vision, your dream. And then the sky's the limit. So thank you.
Beautiful way of ending that, Jenny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really quick, it may already be in the chat, but for those of you who are willing, we would love if you were to complete an evaluation. It's really short. It's like 2 minutes. It helps us. Speaking of that grant funding, those grantors, they love evaluations. So do us a solid, please, there. And we're also going to be sending that out to folks afterwards. I am going to, however, stop my share, though. And I did, for those who would like to stick around and who have any questions, especially while we have Jenny here, would love to give you the opportunity to just open this up and ask away. You can either use the chat. Let's see, I haven't actually been following along, so I can look in there. Let's see. There we go. Anyone have anything that they're thinking about? Wanting to know more about? Your head is spinning about something.
I have a question, if you can hear me. I've just been trying to unmute myself for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, hi, Joanne. Go ahead.
Hi. So I'll make my story very quick. I actually kind of work on a care farm in Massachusetts. We're actually a social services agency where our adults work on a farm. And I live in a farm in New Hampshire. So not that I want to replicate, I have a separate idea of what I want to do. But I was going to ask, some of the services that you provide on the farm, how exactly do you get revenue for those services? Because where I am, you have to be like specially licensed if you want, special needs, intellectual disabilities to come to your farm. Is that something people have done, or would I have to look to the social service agencies? Sorry, that was a long question.
Jenny, did you want to answer?
Where did you say you're from again?
So I live in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay, so for people with disabilities, we are really striving for inclusive in the community-based options and opportunities. Yeah. I actually thought that we had to be certified in some level, and they told me absolutely not. So I want you to think about this concept.
Okay.
People with disabilities, for example, they will go and pay for a field trip to go to a zoo or go to a park or a museum, right? So
Yeah.
that's like, it's the same concept. You can offer community classes. If you were going to do bouquet making, like you can charge for that. I would look up in your state, like something called self-determination, self-direction. It's a waiver service, like it's part of Medicaid, but it's a waiver of choice where the money follows the individual, not the money lives in an agency and then they get to choose. The money would follow the individual so that they can choose. About my programming, I will say mine is very affordable, right down to about $16 an hour for individuals coming to the class, which if you look at like a typical yoga class or anything, that's about the pricing that we get, but we are serving about 10 to 15 people per session. And we have, like I said, 18 staff. So we do it in bulk. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions? Well, I'm just going to note, as I did at the beginning, that we are having a second session. It's next Wednesday. And it is going to cover the things to think about when you're setting up a care farm, your land and facility, as well as your business structure, because you can go nonprofit, you can be a part of a larger agency and a partnership, and you can also be a for-profit. Claudia, you just asked, is the CFN open to care farmers overseas? We are focusing right now on care farms in the United States. There are some organizations that are available or that operate in Europe, specifically in the UK and Ireland. So I would encourage you to look into those. But yeah, we came into existence because there was a need here in the US for a network of care farms. Lots of stuff in the chat. You'll get something in your email within the next couple days. Jenny, huge thank you to you for coming. I think I could listen to you all night. I should probably make a 2-hour webinar because your story is compelling. You have so much energy. I don't know where you get it all from. If anybody is ever in Rochester, New York, they need to show up. They need to take a tour. Friday tour days. Everybody remember that. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience and what you wish you would have known, but you're making it work. And we really appreciate your time. And maybe we'll see y'all at an upcoming gathering. Check out our events. There's lots of information on our website to explore. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.